Hey guys, Dave Wisnowski here from the Pro Wrestling X Project. Thank you so much for dropping by to check out this little Ask Me Anything video. What I basically wanted to do here was just stop for a minute. It's been a long time since I really, just sat down and talked to you guys. And language warning ahead. This is going to be a really casual, just kind of shooting the shit video with you. So sit back and enjoy. And what I intend to do is just answer a bunch of questions that you guys have submitted over the last little while. Just wondering what the hell's going on. We had a pretty epic milestone when we released Uprising just over a year ago. And since then, suffice it to say, a lot has hit the fan, both bad, but in hindsight also extremely good. I say this a lot, but again, it's proving to be true. It's never been a better time for Pro Wrestling X. We are so perfectly set up right now for the perfect storm of what could potentially be for Pro Wrestling X that it overshadows anything bad that has happened to us since Uprising. In fact, in hindsight, and you'll hear all of this dirt, trust me, in hindsight, everything supposedly bad that happened to us as a result of Uprising's release, it turned out to be beyond a blessing in disguise, and it brought fresh new people to the project with unbelievable contributions in terms of experience, talent, love for pro wrestling, and technology that I can safely say that had we not gone through a bit of turmoil following Uprising, we would be very bad off right now. You wouldn't be getting the awesome freaking Pro Wrestling X game you're going to be getting your hands on soon. So let me just jump right into it. Look, there's no real good way to organize anything here in terms of my thoughts or whatever. So I asked you guys to submit some questions. You submitted some, so I'm just going to start reading through them. Hopefully it won't take up too much of your time. And obviously I can't get to every question that's been asked, so I got nothing against, maybe making these videos a little bit more regular, kind of like newsletters. So we can just keep everybody in the loop and seeing my beautiful face more often is probably a good thing, right? As you can see, I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with positive messages and focusing on your goals. And if I pan the camera around here, you would see that in my workspace, I have wallpapered the place with Pro Wrestling X now on Steam, because that is my goal. No sleep till Steam. And in the coming little while here with all these questions and stuff, I think you'll agree why Pro Wrestling X needs to be on Steam and why Steam needs Pro Wrestling X. It's absolutely the best scenario for all of us wrestling fans for us to get on there. So anyway, enough mumbling, straight to the questions. Andrew wanted to know, when will we get Create a Wrestler? Now, I don't know the exact time we'll get Create a Wrestler, but I do know where it's going to fall in the basic roadmap of things. Now, Pro Wrestling X is all about freedom to create whatever the hell you want. Creating wrestlers is just one aspect of the things we want you to be able to edit. Now, in order to make sure that we develop a really good, tight Create a Wrestler, we're going to practice on other things. We are going to work on, editing the rings, editing the arenas, editing all sorts of stuff, maybe even championship belts. And we're probably going to offer those features to you guys first. Get used to the whole pipeline of creating assets for the game. For instance, creating your own ring, picking your aprons. Maybe you want to do custom aprons or whatnot, changing the colors and logos or whatnot. And we really want to work on a solid pipeline where you can easily boot up the game, create your own ring or whatnot, save that file out, and trade it with your friends as easily as you trade pics or porn or whatever, so we can get you guys used to, and us used to, using Pro Wrestling X as a platform to develop and share your wrestling content. Because when we do Create a Wrestler, things are going to get more complicated, right? You're going to be adding move animations, you're going to be adding stats and attributes and abilities and whatnot to these files. They need to be balanced out and work really well with the game and we don't want to, you know, run before we can walk. We've got plenty of experience on how not to do things. So when will we get Creative Wrestler? I'd say you're going to get Creative Wrestler after the Creator Ring, at the very least, and possibly create a championship belt, and then we'll experiment with Creative Wrestler. And again, we're going to let you get your hands on this stuff as early as possible. You'll be playing with the Creative Wrestler before it's finished. The whole idea of Pro Wrestling X moving forward is that when you guys, you know, support us donating money via Kickstarter or whatever, you get access to this early and you help us build it out. You don't have to wait 10 years for a, quote, finished game. You get your hands on it early and help us build it out and tell us where you want to see things go. Jim wants to know, will physics be dynamic to a certain extent, like in Matt Dickey's games? Physics, as they're going to be used in Pro Wrestling X, again, we are starting very, very small. You'll be probably experiencing physics in terms of rigid body physics first, you know, just knocking over chairs and whatnot, things moving out of the way when you bash into them, and a very simple sort of collision and whatnot. You know, doing brain busters on top of chairs, you know, should matter more than doing them in the ring on the mat or even outside on the floor. Post that, the kind of physics we want to experiment. We don't want to get too crazy and too stupid with like ragdoll physics and whatnot. But you know, part of wrestling is properly selling moves. So when you fall from the top of the cage, generally you have to do it right or you die. So it might look a little goofy having ragdoll physics, you know, falling from the top of a cage. But it might also be a fun option for guys who want to really create really crazy backyard wrestling, tournament of death style stuff. You might really get off on that ragdoll physics kind of stuff. So down the road, I would say expect to see some sort of option for ragdoll knockouts and stuff. Not a promise, because it might look so goofy as hell we don't want it as part of Pro Wrestling X. But if it's a viable option, it'll be in there. But of course, before we can add physics, the core gameplay has to be right. And you don't need physics to get, you know, grappling, punching, striking, submissions, and all that stuff right. So we're resisting the temptation right now to do all sorts of fancy physics until the core stuff is right. Chris wants to know, what did you learn from developing Uprising that you can apply to the next game, Pro Wrestling X? That is a loaded question, my friend. I could write a book on what I learned from Uprising and the mistakes we made that we won't repeat, and the things we did right that we absolutely will repeat. I would say something that I did learn that I wasn't, I would say, expecting, because I have respect for you guys and for the fans and whatnot, is I didn't realize that some people actually resent their own customers and their own fans. And going through Uprising up until release, it became apparent as we got feedback from fans, you know, bug reports and whatnot. It would seem like, you know, the right thing to do was to listen to people who have issues with your game, work with them to try to figure out what the problem is, and try to fix it. These people are your customers, your supporters, your fans. You don't call them stupid goons and accuse them of being, you know, too retarded to work their own computer. Blew my mind. And I would say that if you know, if you want to add to the list of things that I learned from Uprising that I will apply to Pro Wrestling X, is that if you want to work on Pro Wrestling X, you will damn well respect the people who made it possible, which is the fans who give us the support and donations and purchases to make the game possible. If you don't have respect for your customers, your fans, your supporters, then, you know, go work for other game companies where I'm sure that's common. You won't be working on Pro Wrestling X, that's for sure. Chris Law wants to know in particular about tag team finishers. And Chris, you had a bunch of questions about tag teams, and I love that you are so into the tag team side of things. I am too. In fact, I'm so into tag teams that I don't want to start slapping tag team stuff in too early in the Pro Wrestling X. I love tag team wrestling, and I think in order to do tag team wrestling right, it's practically worthy of its own standalone expansion almost of just tag team specific game modes, match types, and features. Part of what I want to do with Pro Wrestling X is I want to remove a lot of the canned animations and stuff like that for tag team finishing moves. I totally understand why other developers do it. Animation is freaking expensive. 2 character animations, 3 character animations for tag team finishers and whatnot. That is expensive stuff to get done, and it makes sense that you might just want to can that animation, trigger it when you're in the corner with your partner, and boom, do the Doomsday device. I get the temptation, believe me. But what I'd rather do, if we're successful enough we can afford to make this happen, is make it manual. Actually encourage and reward people for getting good at the game. And when you're playing the game as a tag team, it should be different than playing the game as a single player exhibition match. You should have to learn how to do your tag team finishers. In the example of like the Road Warriors, the Doomsday device, you should have to learn how to set up your opponent, how to get him in position on your shoulders and get him within range of your partner, so that your partner can then manually perform the part of the move that he needs to do, getting up on the turnbuckle, aiming at your opponent, flying at him, and hopefully connecting. I mean, you should botch and you should miss tag team finishers if you suck at them, you know? I really want them to be like they are in a real tag team match. They're the dynamic sort of high spot of the whole match. When you nail that finisher, it shouldn't be too easy and too can to happen. So in terms of tag team stuff, my aspirations are really to take it to a next level where, hopefully you and your buddy or whatever, if you make a tag team and you play as that tag team, you really do have to learn to work together, to make the cool stuff happen in the game, so you're actually performing the cool stuff, not just triggering it, boom, there it goes, and the excitement's over, you know what I mean? So that kind of brings me to, I mentioned botching, you should botch stuff. Who asked me that question? Somebody did. Michael Womatowski. Plans to include botched moves. Yes, but again, not yet. Those are kind of a vanity thing. You don't really need them to have a good match, but I would like to make them an option later on. When you're picking your moves for your wrestler, you're going to be able to tick off certain attributes, or what you want to call it, of that move, so you can decide if a move is a potential knockout move, if it causes bleeding or whatnot. I think you should also be able to tick off if a move can be potentially botched, and if you allow that to happen, I'd like to see that actually happen, perhaps no more often than a critical might happen in Fire Pro Wrestling, but I think it would add something, a new level to the game that would be kind of neat. It'd be fun to see a botch once in a blue moon, and getting into the crowd chants kind of idea. Of course, you got to have the crowd chanting "you fucked up" for a reason, right? It's got to happen. And again, getting back to the language here, I apologize if anyone's offended, but like one of our crew members says, we're not 12-year-olds and we're not making video games for 12-year-olds. We're all big boys here, and a lot of Pro Wrestling X is going to be, adult-oriented, in terms of the content. Hopefully we won't be offending too many people, but we'll be making people happy that there's going to be, alternatives out there to the PG-rated stuff that we don't have much of a choice not to watch these days. So let's see, more questions here. Ed wants to know plans for online multiplayer and what we're going to do to address online cheating. Well, first of all, we don't have any online features working right now or planned. Of course, I'm told by development crew not to worry about it. Online multiplayer is so much easier to implement these days than 10 years ago when we started this. But I'll believe it when I see it. And honestly, once we've got online features, the basic mechanic working, peer-to-peer even playing, we've got different ideas for how to utilize online multiplayer for a wrestling game. I think chasing that holy grail of online head-to-head multiplayer in a Twitch-based fighting game so seldom works right that it's just not worth pursuing to a certain degree. I much more would rather go at it from the angle of people who are like Fire Pro Wrestling gamers who like to sim matches, CPU versus CPU. I'd much rather kind of pursue a route that is less dependent on the real-time twitch factor, and you know, allows a little bit more, you know, thinking and strategy to go on. But again, that's coming way down the road. We got so much work to do with our little crew to make the core Pro Wrestling X just a basic, fun exhibition match game that we're not really worried about online multiplayer too much yet. And frankly, when companies like, you know, like Ukes and even the Mortal Kombat guys, who have budgets I can only dream of, still have balancing issues and exploits and whatnot that renders their online multiplayer useless for tournaments and things like that almost, that it really kind of takes the wind out of my sails to want to put too much attention towards it. Peter wants to know, the next pro wrestling game coming out this year, what are the odds? Those odds are 100%. Since Uprising's release, let's see if I can squeeze a few more questions in here. I don't want to like bore you guys to death here, but since Uprising's release, you know, we went through some crap that I'll talk about more in more detail down the road. But we spent a great deal of time. First, we had to hire a new programming crew, which and actually a new lead art animation as well, which thank God we did, because these guys are awesome. All the stuff you've seen recently, you probably saw the new animation videos on that in-engine, in-game that we worked out. Pro Wrestling X would not look and feel as good as it does now if we were still working with the old crew. No disrespect to old crew in a lot of ways, but the new guys come with a lot of new experience, new technology, and new ideas, basically. And it's absolutely fabulous what they've got going on. So since Uprising, you know, we made a little bit of money from Uprising, and thank God a lot of people who came and purchased Uprising didn't just give us, you know, a couple bucks for Uprising. They kicked in extra money for extra tiers for some of the extra rewards and stuff. And thank God for that, you know, extra few little bucks, because it afforded us the opportunity to actually to pay these guys for their time to get us as far as they did. So what they've been working on since Uprising, we I wouldn't say wasted time, but we spent a lot of time learning that we couldn't update Uprising and work on the new Pro Wrestling X without wasting half of our time somewhere. So it wasn't until the summer that we made the decision to put all of our focus on the new Pro Wrestling X. And for the people who were expecting updates for Uprising, like I was expecting to be able to do it, we'll make it up to you. Don't worry, we will definitely make it up to you. You will not lose your $4. I absolutely promise you that. So what they were able to do, and actually, you know what, this actually ties in with one of the major questions we get is, you know, we mentioned that we're doing a new Kickstarter and we're asking for less than $10,000. Our last Kickstarter, we were asking for what, like 70 grand? So one of the big questions was, how come you needed 70 grand before, but you only need less than 10 grand now? Simple. A lot of what we needed that 70 grand for, our new crew already got done. We really needed that money to reboot, to get rid of you know, the old art, the old animations. We've already got core art and animations rebooted and redone, and it's beautiful. So that no longer, that big chunk of that budget, done. We don't need it. The coding and the engine. I mean, if you played Uprising, you know, we can be honest with each other here, it failed in a lot of ways. And the ways that it was good, the core game mechanics, you know, the way the buttons work, the strong, the weak, the grapple, the punch, strikes, people all said, yay, this is freaking Aki brought back to life. At least, you know, we see a pulse. We see a pulse here. There's potential here, but everything that sucked about that game was in the core, the game engine programming. I mean, the physics sucked. the rendering, the graphics, no good, man. You saw so many of the performance issues that we had with that game. Stupid, embarrassing things like dual monitor support wasn't happening. The rope physics just were awful for some people. With really, really sweet gaming machines, they couldn't get Uprising to perform properly. That was totally inexcusable for a developer to ship something that the core game engine performed so poorly. So, made the tough decision to not only future endeavor some of the crew, I future endeavored that entire game engine. Just gave it to boot. Time to go. Time to move on. I mean, we all criticize Ukes for what? They never get rid of stuff that's not working. They keep building on top of broken stuff. Granted, the new game's a lot better. They're not as guilty of it as they were in the past. So I thought, well, hell, I'm going to follow my own advice. And we killed everything that wasn't working in Uprising. So over the summer, and since then, our new lead programmer has been completely overhauling all that stuff. And now, no excuses, man. There's no more crappy rope physics glitching out. There's no more excuse for the animations not blending well. Everything blends great now. Animations actually flow smoothly like they're supposed to. Like they were supposed to from the beginning, like a design, but it never happened, and I could rant and rave on that forever. But also some big things too. Like now it's not just Windows PC. Now we've got the sucker running on Linux and on Mac. I mean, I can't stop saying it. Thank God we went through everything we did, because the new game is so much better at its core than Uprising ever could have been. Uprising was probably, hate to say it in hindsight, but Uprising is probably the best that game was ever going to get with that technology and that that crew at the time. So I'm ranting and raving. I'm just glad that we are where we are. That's where we spent the last year, kind of struggling, largely on our own dime, spending a few bucks that we could raise on getting these guys to work. So why do we need even the 10 grand we need now? Basically, we've got so much of the stuff working and working well that we really just want to get all of us, the core crew, 4 of us right now, 4 of us, we want everyone to be able to take a holiday from their day jobs and just be able to sit together, physically or even virtually, for a good couple of months, full-time as we can, and knock out the next playable version of Pro Wrestling X with all the updated graphics, rendering, game engine, support for Mac and Linux, all the new graphics and animations and whatnot. We just want to be able to knock out that core game for you guys so that we can ship that to you, just like that, so that you guys can then help us take it from that core basic platform, and we can keep building the sucker forever. Keep adding features to it, keep adding moves, adding depth. I mean, when you see the Kickstarter and you see what we've got in mind for like stretch goals, like for instance, if we raise more than our asking price, at every few $1,000s more, we specifically say we'll add depth to, we'll add more moves in this situation, we'll add this grapple state, we'll add more of this feature, more of this content. And as we get bigger and bigger, hopefully, right, cross your fingers, then we can start adding more and more features to the game, hopefully more awesome match types, so we can get into more edit features and edit tools. Keep in mind, we're a small crew. Even if we raise $1 million, we're only 4 guys. We can only work so hard for 4 guys, right? So if we are lucky enough to raise a bit more money, maybe we can bring in some more wrestling-loving crew to help us build stuff out faster. So yeah, a long babbling answer to that question. We just need a little bit of money so we can get this beautiful version of the game that you see in bits and pieces all together in one, downloadable executable that you guys can already play and start modding and start playing with. So that's why we're going to Kickstarter for that. So we don't have to kind of just claw our way to that version over God knows how many months, just working in our free time, but we can sit down and knock it out for you. Now, part of our plan with a successful Kickstarter is to get this puppy on Steam. Why do we want to get Pro Wrestling X on Steam so badly? Well, Number of reasons. If you're not familiar with Steam, it is arguably the biggest online store for PC games. To have our game on there, the only wrestling game on Steam, means a lot of exposure to our game, to the exact kind of crowd we think is going to want to play our game. People who play games on their PC who don't have a wrestling game on Steam hopefully will be interested in ours. Now, Steam has, not only can you go and buy the game on Steam, but they've got excellent programs like Steam Early Access, which means that if we get greenlit on Steam, we can give you guys the next Pro Wrestling X way early in alpha stage or whatever, so you can start kicking the tires on this sucker before it's even out of alpha stage. That would be fantastic. And of course, just the technology. Steam allows us to easily update our game whenever we're ready, as often as we want to. It automatically updates for you. It's just a no-brainer way, man, for you to sit down at your computer, launch Steam, and boom, there's a new version of Pro Wrestling X waiting for you. That would be fantastic. And not only that, I mean, aside from early access, you might be familiar with the Steam Works workshop, which essentially lets people create their own content for games, and with the permission of the game developer and the nice people at Valve and whatnot, you can even distribute your stuff. Say, for instance, you make the world's greatest title belts. There's nothing stopping you as a gamer and as a fan for creating a pack of wicked awesome wrestling belts and offering them on the Steam Workshop. You could even charge $1 for them if you want to. Granted, we don't want to nickel and dime people and sell stuff that should come free with the game. We have absolutely no intention of charging people 99 cents for new menu buttons or anything stupid like that. We really want to give people regular expansions as we go with the it comes with the cost of the game or whatnot, but there's so much potential. I mean, nobody, I think, likes to mod and create in games more than wrestling gamers. So I can't imagine the kind of stuff, venues and whatnot. I mean, even Uprising, within a few days after Uprising was released, I saw that people were already creating their own backyard venues and that. Wouldn't that be awesome to be able to go on Steam and download all the venues you want? And because of the Steam platform and technology works so seamlessly, there's no, there wouldn't be any glitching or bugging out of installing new updates and expansions and whatnot. I could go on and on about Steam, but that's why we want to get that sucker on there. And we're taking a bit of a gamble. What if we only make our minimum asking price on Kickstarter? What if we don't get on Steam? Well, we'll keep going as we've been going, and you will have a new game in your hands, even if we only make the lowest goal. But I tell you, man, if we get on that, the Kickstarter does well, we're able to get on Steam, there's no reason why our little indie team couldn't then be funded realistically, feasibly enough that we could make this a legit endeavor where we could all afford to actually sit down and work on this as much as we wanted to and start pumping it out like it should be, often and regularly, and just keep adding to Pro Wrestling X forever and ever. Let's see here. Dave Horn, my good friend Dave Horn, the developer of Action Arcade Wrestling, asked if you could blink your eyes and magically have one feature programmed into the game, what would it be? You know what I would like? And this would be magic. I would like some sort of magical universal importer where I could just, I don't know, point my controller at my Nintendo and at my Dreamcast and at my PlayStation and import every wrestler and everything I ever created for all the wrestling games I've been playing over the years and import all that stuff into Pro Wrestling X. That to me would be like just the ultimate, man, to have all of my created wrestlers from all of my favorite games with their moves and everything all in one game, all just consolidated into one, perfect wrestling game. Ultimately, I'd like to think with the power of that open PC platform and Steamworks and all that, that Pro Wrestling X really will become less of a game per se and more of just a pro wrestling platform for everyone just to create and share their own wrestling game experiences. It could be so much bigger than what one developer could make. You know, if we give you guys the power, the tools, and the freedom, there's no reason why there can't be, you know, versions, builds of Pro Wrestling X that are great Japanese wrestling game, great lucha game, great backyard wrestling game. I mean, there's so much potential here that if we can just make this platform feasible and get it on something like Steam, I'm talking in circles, I know, man, but I'm excited about that. Let's see what else we got to answer here. Botch moves. Jason wanted to know, he's seen the word and the tag undefeated used a lot in some of our posts on Facebook and that. Is that the name of the next game? Nope, that's not the name of the next game at all. I've kind of commandeered that word. It's kind of summed up to me, you know, my feeling of the last year of being undefeated. We went through a lot of shit, and I'll talk more about it. You know, the drama that unfolded after Uprising's release with money and source code and future endeavored crew. It got really, really ugly. In fact, you know, I didn't let on at the time, but there was a few moments there where, for all intents and purposes, Pro Wrestling X was dead. I had lost everything, literally, with Pro Wrestling X, and I saw no way out for a little while. It looked pretty black and pretty bleak, and I will say thank you to a number of people who came forward to help out. Really saved the project, and hopefully I'll be able to talk more about them. But guys like they probably don't want me mentioning their names because they work for other game companies. They might get in trouble for helping me out. But you know who you are, the guys out there that took our art content and you know, kind of showed what could be done with other technology. The guys who kind of took a look at Uprising in depth and told me how much that game engine I had paid thousands of dollars for was really worth. It hurt, but it helped make the right decisions moving forward. Yeah, undefeated. It really does sum up how I feel right now. It feels like a new day. It feels like the last 10, 12 years of Pro Wrestling X was really an education. I feel like we went to the school of how to the worst possible conditions to start a game company and make a game. Someone handed us the biggest pile of crap in terms of, you know, opportunities and situations and tools and in some cases people, unfortunately, and said, make a game with this. Try to get something done working with these personality disorders, or this lack of funding, or this broken gear, or this stolen game engine. Oh God. But but we did it, man. And at the end of the day, no word describes the feeling better than undefeated. To be able to stand here and even have an update for you, and to have something that looks and feels as beautiful as this next Pro Wrestling X release does. I expect to use the word undefeated a lot, but it won't be the name of the game. From now on, Pro Wrestling X is simply Pro Wrestling X. No Uprising, no subtitles or whatnot. It is simply Pro Wrestling X now and forever going forward. Other questions here. Jason. Jason, where did yours? Samuel, have you seen the Hammerlock Gym in the new 5-star wrestling game? Did you give them permission to include it? Samuel's probably talking about, if you haven't heard of it yet, check out 5-Star Wrestling. It's a game coming out for the PlayStation 3. I'm friends, good acquaintance with Daniel, the CEO of the company, Serious Parody. They're making what looks to be a pretty tight wrestling game. I think you guys are really going to like it. I haven't seen any gameplay footage yet, but what Samuel's referring to is there is a venue in the game that looks quite similar to the level in Pro Wrestling X Uprising that we call the Hammerlock gym. And no, they don't need our permission, because frankly we didn't invent the idea of a gym. We didn't invent the idea of you know, sunlight coming through a window. I'm pretty sure that's been done before. So I mean, it's the Hammerlock, even though you haven't seen a lot of games use a level like that, it's generic. It's an empty room with a big window and sunlight coming through. So I mean, if a level in another game looks like it, I'm not surprised. We weren't the first. We won't be the last. I'd like to take credit for the idea of sunlight coming through a window, but I don't think I can get away with that. I think their game 5-star looks really promising. I wish them nothing but the best. However, I will say, if you did see trailers for Pro Wrestling X Uprising on Steam or whatever, you probably saw that we hung posters of all of our friends' games on the wall. And I'm just saying, you know, we had their games hanging on our wall. Just saying. No, I wish them nothing but the best. I'm looking forward to playing again. I might actually buy a PlayStation 3 just so I can play the game. That pretty much sums up the questions I have for today. I babbled on way longer than I intended to. Thank you so much for watching. Please fire off any and all questions you might have that I haven't answered that you want to see. I'd like to do this more regularly. Please keep your eyes posted. We will be launching our next Kickstarter soon. We will give you a heads up so you've got a chance to come and check it out, because if you are a Kickstarter supporter, in the first few days of the campaign, we will invite you to record your voice and send it to us to be part of the crowd chants. We'll be doing a lot of really cool crowd chants. You'll get a chance to be in the game as part of the crowd audio. It'll be awesome. It doesn't matter if you come in at the lowest tier or the highest tier on Kickstarter, you will be invited to take part in the crowd audio. That will be absolutely awesome. I hope you guys do. We're asking for such a small amount of money that honestly, if everybody who Kickstarted us in the first Kickstarter, if all of those people came back and Kickstarted even at the lowest tier, we would reach our goal. We would reach our goal. In fact, if we do actually do something as crazy as reach our goal right away from the first day, I'm thinking of getting the Pro Wrestling X logo tattooed on me as some sort of you know, nice way to celebrate, man. I'm in. I got some skin in the game, literally, man. So keep an eye on the Kickstarter. Thanks again for voting for us on Steam. It's a matter of when, not if. I know we'll make it on Steam, and that will be one hell of a day. So thank you so much for being part of this. It's been a long road. We're just getting to the fun part now. All of your support over the years and patience is about to be validated. You will no longer be making excuses. Oh, Uprising, yeah, it was okay, but you know, they had to use really old art and animations from 10 years ago and cut them a break. You will not have to cut us a break. This next game is going to stand on its own. This crew is going to have a lot to be proud of, and I'm so proud and thankful of you guys for supporting us for so long. We are finally going to be able to give you the game that you deserve. We're developing a game that is worthy of being on Steam on its own as a game, not because of some hard luck story, but just as a game. And I could keep on talking forever. Thanks to the great crew that we have with us right now. I couldn't ask for a better crew. We get along, we function, we work well together. There's a lot of respect between everyone. It's just it's night and day compared to like over a year ago when things were a little bit more challenging. So yeah, I don't know what else to say other than thank you for watching this video. I do believe I've got some crew waiting to have a meeting with me now on Skype about all this stuff. So I better get going. Talk to you guys soon. I'll keep you all posted. Thank you very much from the bottom of my fat Ukrainian heart. We will see you soon. Cheers.